Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel finally. So a little bit of what's been going on with me. As I've told you guys a few times, I do this for fun. Mostly to see what I get whenever I get boxes, or to do fun deck techs, because I know some people really enjoy the kind of decks I make. So I don't really monetize this or anything like that. So that being said, I've fallen on some hard times, shall we say. So I'm not really able to just flippantly buy product like I could. So, I've been really wondering what I was going to do with this channel. I've been really disheartened. It's one of the main reasons I've been away. I've had a couple of ideas on stuff to do, but really, it hasn't been... I haven't really focused on my YouTube channel. I've been trying to focus on other things like better employment. But anyway, enough about me. So anyway, as I was considering, normally I get like a box and a fat pack, a bundle, and like all the commander decks. And, that obviously isn't happening at all. But I've been miserable. I've been down on myself. So I decided that I was going to at least pick up when it comes out at least the Jund Streets of Newcomers deck, because I love the idea of treasure. I want to make a Jund Treasure Dragon deck. I've wanted to for a long time. But that also gave rise to the fact that I have a ton of decks that I don't have room for. I consider this to be like, this is how many decks I have, quote-unquote, room for, So this is about 35 decks, so there's 10 in my double archive, then 4, then 4, then 4, then 4. 6 Satin Towers. My V2 Vault, which has my Dragon and my Lord Windgrace deck, which was my Karthus deck. And of course my custom deck, or my deck box my friends got me for Kalia. So, kind of gonna list all the decks I have. I have 23 decks over here and 35 over here. I need to figure out which one, specifically out of this pile, I want to shred. I want to just take apart. It's unbelievable how little space I actually have. Actually, I think there's only 4 decks in here because there's one that was lying around. So this might be the deck that goes in there. I gotta double check. I'm a color-coded idiot, so I know either my terrible monocolored dragons deck goes in there, or this deck, which is my Muxus Goblin Grandee deck. Actually, let's first go. Yep. Knew it. Muxus just unleashed his goblins all over the place. Yeah. There we go. So, over the next few weeks, I'm going to try and basically, almost reality TV style, vote various decks off my island. Probably take them apart, look through them. And, it's just me doing something with this channel because, like I said, I don't really have the money right now to keep buying boxes and the likes of that. So, this was just something fun that I was going to do, and I said, why not document it? So, we've got the obvious stains. Kalia. I've done a deck tech on her. You guys know I wax poetic about this deck. I love it. That's not getting touched. Valentine's Day present, this beautiful vault from a couple years ago. This houses... Oh, I had it backwards. This houses my Lord Windgrace Jund Dragon deck, which was formerly Karthus, and a half-hearted attempt at upgrading the Dragon precon. So the problem with this thing is, to really optimize this, I need a lot of expensive lands that I just don't have. I need to shell out for an entire set of shock lands, filters, just to get this deck to where I want it to be, where I think it could be is just, back then, was going to take an investment I didn't have to spare. And now this is even worse. So one day this deck is going to get there, and it's probably going to be 85% proxies. You know, just between, you know, whenever I build a 5-color deck, it's always hell because, you know, I always want to try and find the best removal, all the best, because when you have access to 5 colors, you can afford that luxury. So, like, that deck it's a deck I utterly love that deck. I love it to death. But, it's one that will be improved upon slower than probably any other deck that I actually intend to make. I did a big deck tech on Halloween for my Rakdos Lord of Riots deck. Actually, it was a couple days late. Didn't get the views I wanted on it. I was excited and I was disappointed. So you guys have seen that one. My Dimir zombie deck, which I compared to the Wilhelm the Rock Cleaver deck, precon. You guys saw that in that great video. Got a lot of great responses to that one. I really want to do that again. This is my Farrakha Death Touch deck. So effectively, it's minor league snake tribal. Mostly, it's about creature destruction and and you know, such things as snake counters. Basically, it's a Death Touch deck. It's got a lot of fun interactions. You see Massacre Worm right there. I've thought about making Phyrexian tribal. Apparently, Massacre Worm's a Phyrexian right now. All right. Well, this is my Phoenix Mill Commander deck. I know a lot of people hate Mill and EDH, but like, I cracked this card during a draft once. I think you guys heard that story. And I just fell in love with this card. You know, I got Eater of the Dead when it was a cheap card. Man, I can't believe how that changed. You know, I don't know why I keep this deck around. This is a luxury deck. You know, it's stupid. It's non-interactive. It's mill, but it's just a ton of Dimir creatures with high power or toughness that I just turn sideways and let the cards fly. You know, it's never going to be a deck that I feel the most confidence in, but like I can't get rid of it. I just can't bring myself to get rid of it. This is a work in progress. This is basically, so you know, this is probably my most shameless design. I saw game nights, you know, with Jacob Bertrand from Cobra Kai. He was playing a Coma Cosmos Serpent deck, and I was just like, man, I want to build a deck around that thing. So like, that's the reason this deck exists. A lot of this is actually the Quandrick precon. I took a lot out of that, and also out of the a couple of the larger 4-color precons. I took some stuff out of and added to this. It's not where I need it to be. It's very in proto phase. I gotta play test it more to see how much it works, but I'm not saying I think it's definitely going to get the chopping block, but it's definitely a deck that I just either need to commit to it and improve, or there are cards in that deck that can be better served elsewhere. So those are my Satin Towers and my Vault, my red archive. So I've got Boros Angels. Uh-oh. Well, that explains a lot. My Goblin deck was not in the Goblin deck box. That's what happened. My terrible monocolor Dragon deck was in that box. Because they share almost the same sleeves. I made a mistake when I put them away. Come on, stay up, camera. I'm not reshooting this. I'm not reshooting it. I refuse. So, you know, I keep this in the Commander Anthologies Duretti scrap Duretti box. There was a deck in here, so I thought it was my Muxus deck. was actually my Lathral deck. That explains why my Goblin deck was just lying around. So like I said, Aurelia the War Leader, Boros Angels. I enjoy the deck. The problem is when all of my favorite red and white stuff is in Kaalia. So I don't know if it's just not worth keeping this around. This is like my ode to Commander. This is what I love about Commander. This is a lot of ramp and shamelessly big creatures. This is my Zakama Primal Calamity. Ah, damn. Oh, what just hit the ground? Oh. I'm not working with a lot of space today. This is my Dragon Tribal deck, so, you know, arguably, you know, probably the most base deck I own. You know, this is, I don't have the recursion shenanigans, all that stuff. It's about playing dragon. This is about playing dinosaurs and turning them sideways. As I said, this is my Lathral deck. Just, you know, dragon, tribal, monocolored. Basically, whenever most of the dragons I would get, how most of my dragon decks came into existence is I built my Kaalia deck. Had too many green-related dragons that I couldn't use. Made Karthus. Then there were just so many leftover dragons from that I made this. You know, and then like all the wacky colored dragons were... Actually, I made the decision to turn my Dragon deck into a legend deck. So it's got a lot of legendary dragons in that one. And then, you know, with the Forgotten Realms precon came out, that became another dragon deck I had. So, let's see. My black and white one, I think I did deck tech on my Vona Butcher of Magan deck. I love this deck. It's all about life gain, life loss. There's no way that's going anywhere. This is Edgar Markov. Several vampire decks have come out. This is a souped up version of the precon. Again, much like my Aurelia the War Leader deck, when most of my red and white the best red-white cards I own are in Kaalia, you know, it's Mardu too. It's really hard to say that I've put all my effort into this deck. Like, if I really focused on it, this thing could be potent as hell. But mostly it's the precon with some vampiric upgrades here and there. Still the same subpar land base because everything went into Kaalia. That's the main thing. That the real point of this is a lot of these decks I loved when they came out, but they're very suboptimal. As I built new decks, I've unknowingly taken from other decks, left decks shells of their former self. So most of what I'm going to be doing in future episodes is going through these and just deciding whether or not they're worth having. Like, in theory, this, like, Dragon is amazing, but, like, I now have two other vampire decks. I have the Blood Token precon from Crimson Vow, and I have this thing. And if those two are just better strategized than this, then I don't know what the future holds for Edgar Markov. This is not really a vampire deck. This is the Anje Falkenroth Madness precon. I added a lot of Madness cards that I personally like, even though most of the good ones were already in there. I love having the red and black limited edition deck box. Madness is a mechanic near and dear to my heart. You guys have heard that story. I started in Torment, so this isn't going anywhere. It may not be the most optimized, but it's one of my favorites. You know, Tevesh Zat, Doom to Fools. Listen, I think I did deck tech on this one too. You know, this was the Obnixilis precon from 2014 that I kept on stripping it for parts, and I kept replacing it with high cost demons, and somehow it worked. Like that deck is the little engine that could, and eventually I just put better removal into it. Gave it some TLC, and it's a really fun deck. Then I took up Obnixilis for my Rakdos deck, Rakdos Lord of Riots, and replaced him with Tevesh Zat. Hasn't hurt him that much. All right, my teal one. Yeah, this is a pile of What the heck? Most of this is going to get stripped. So let's see. This is the Otrime Ever Playful Ikoria deck. I was just fascinated by the character and the color scheme. Just the, the mutate idea, but honestly, I wanted to love this deck way more than I ended up loving it. Deadly Rollick got stripped immediately for Kalia. Common theme. Just like Deflecting Swat was taken out of Calamax the Stormsire. But so this one's, as much as I think this guy's adorable. Everybody talks about the Nicol Bolas light motif we got going here. Mutate wasn't as fun as I thought it would be. So this one's probably going to get the axe. And it even got a deck box too. I must have thought highly of this deck at one point. If it got a boulder and a good Dragon Shield sleeves. This, I really should put a little more into this. This, of course, is the Atraxa Precon. And it's pretty much it's the final boss of precons. I like to keep this thing in good condition to test against all my other decks, because this is a really pain in the ass deck. So if you can hang with the precon is strong by itself, but I've added things to it. I don't think it necessarily deserves a spot in my deck boxes because I don't play it myself. But this is the sparring partner. This is the measuring stick that most of my decks have to at least live up to. So it's not going to be destroyed, but it's probably not going to stay here. You guys recognize this? Whenever I look through a deck or do a deck tech, I feel obligated to sleeve it up while I'm handling the cards. So this is the Will Help the Rock Cleaver Precon. You guys saw me test or take a look at this versus my own personal one. So this means I have 3 zombie decks. So I really need to pick and choose cards from this deck, from my Dimir zombie deck, mash it together, and then just get rid of the extra. I don't need 2 Dimir zombie decks. I have my mono black and I have my Dimir one, and that's I'm good. I'm good. This used to be one of the most powerful mana bases I owned. This is unsleeved. What the heck happened to you? What happened to you? Why are you unsleeved completely? And you're a little nicked up. What happened to this card? So this is my Nicol Bolas deck. As if you couldn't tell. This is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. So this started out life as a mashup between the 2017 Wizards, the Wizards precon, the Wizard Tribal precon from that year, with Arobo and the Ur-Dragon and Edgar Markov. I took basically half of that deck, half of Javella the Nephalia's Scourge deck, Mind Seize, I think it's called, that precon. And I basically took my favorite stuff from both of those and added it to this deck. I also, at the time, it was like my 3rd commander deck. So it got like the best lands, it got my fetch lands. It got so much stuff that I just would never have put in this deck now. And now it hasn't been touched. It hasn't been until because it's got freaking Dragon Shield Fusion Classics. I don't even think this color comes in matte. This is a relic, much like Nicol Bolas himself. It sits on the shelf. There's my prized Siren Silent Song that I drafted live, and it won me a lot. But I went back and said, man, where are all these cards that I know I own? And I'm like, oh crap, a lot of them went into this deck. A lot of the good lands went into this deck. So it slowly got stripped for good lands and replaced with basics or suboptimal lands and things like that. It's like, yeah, I could use this in other decks. Mystic Tutor. I could use Mystic Tutor in a couple other decks. So just as examples. So, my true name's in here. Like, yeah, seriously. I could, take half of this deck and put it in another deck that would be better suited. I want to know what happened to that. Like, this should be sleeved. That upsets me. Did my dumbass... Did I confuse the proxy for the real? No, because this would have still had a plastic sleeve on it. Because these are all inner sleeve too. So, like, I can't figure out why this doesn't have a sleeve on it. Well, right now, just because I don't feel comfortable otherwise, this is getting a sleeve. Yeah, these probably, honestly, the only dragon shields that haven't held up that well. See, they're so smudgy on the back. You know, I loved the color for Grixis before, but just, it's not a becoming color. Or it's not becoming with the smudges. So, like, I really think I'm going to pirate a lot of this deck. I'm going to pilfer a lot of this. Going to figure out, going to take stuff from Will Help the Rock Cleaver. So, this whole box is probably on the chopping block. Again, I'm not making decisions tonight, but wait till we get to my super archive. I know most of that's going. This is all fairly new stuff. This is my Robo deck. You know, the precon from 2016. My girlfriend says she ever got into Magic, she'd want this deck and she'd want this color sleeves. So there we go. I took out the Mana Flare, or the Mirari's Wake. I put that immediately into the Ur Dragon precon. So let's see. This is the Freylice 2014 mono green commander deck. Obviously, as you can tell, it's the Commander Anthology version. I really enjoy this deck. I just upgrade it with good elves every so often, so it's really fun. This is the newest creation, and one of the newest additions. This is my Gruul Werewolf deck. It needs a lot of work. It's in proto phase, but obviously, you know, once we had Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow come out, all those great werewolves came out. So yeah, I had to act. So, you know, I've got most of the those blank placeholder cards in here. You know, these things, or these, you know, the nice art ones. And I've got the actual double-sideds in double-backed clear sleeves. Oh, there's my, there's the Commander, Tovolar, the Midnight Scourge, also known as Tovolar, Dire Overlord, the new Arlen Cord. I actually really like that art. So, these are probably the most useful, and this is just the Selesnya Humans deck, the Human Precon from Midnight Hunt alongside Will Help the Rock Cleaver. So this is, you know, this has actually been a surprisingly fun deck. Coven has been more doable than I thought it'd be. So I didn't think I would enjoy that deck as much as I have, but it's probably going to stick around. If nothing else, as a solid training dummy. Pardon me. That's the thing. Most of these stick around as training dummies. All right, here's my big one. Got these. I love these deck boxes. I love these cases. I need another big one like this, but then I'll be able to fit 10 more decks. Okay. Whew. Speaking of 10 more decks. Okay. So this should be Sabine the Chronoplasm? Is this Sabine the Chronoplasm? Yep, Sabine the Chronoplasm. Like Anjay Falkenroth, it's from the 2018 Commander decks, which were based off keywords. So this is the Flashback deck. I played Flashback. You know, we're talking, you know, Odyssey block is like the heart of my playing time, so that's so very much, you know, like the Madness deck. It was something that I just gravitated towards. I probably could do some work on it. It's just a fun deck to play. I guess that's all there is to that one. It's a fun deck to play, so I don't really have a leg to stand on. This is Phantom Premonition. You know, this is, I forget the guy's name. This is the Caldheim Spirit deck that's based on Foretell, which is really cool. Yeah, it's like Ranar the Everwatchful. I think Foretell is awesome. Originally, I was going to do a Foretell video comparing this Spirit deck to Millicent, the Crimson Vow Spirit deck commander. I never got around to it. So that's probably going to be integrated into this what stays and what goes. Because while a lot of people say Millicent is a fun commander, she's just another tribal commander, whereas, you know, Ranar with the Foretell stuff, like, people say that's really cool, and I happen to agree, so, you know, Millicent might not survive. So, this is the Dimir Rogues Zendikar commander deck. Oh no, I bent a token. Oh my. I'll explain why now this fits right. And so this is Anawan the Rune Thief. You know. So the original one, I thought it was the other kind of ruin. You know, Anawan the Ruin Sage. I thought it was like his whole deal was like ruination. You know, I didn't realize that, you know, that his deal was to, you know, study ancient ruins and acquire ancient artifacts. So it's actually an interesting deck. It's got, like, you know, a lot of mill to it and stuff like that. You know, it's got rogues, it's got some stuff, but I just don't know if I enjoy this deck as much as I wanted to. This was the deck I was most excited about with Zendikar, given the fact the other one's half destroyed. But, you know, what can I say? It's probably going to... It's closer to the chopping block than a lot of others. So, going back to the Planeswalkers. Oh, I'm sorry. So, the keywords were 2019, I believe, because these were 2017. The Planeswalker was the ones, I believe. So, this is the Esper Planeswalker, Ameneto. I cannot do this word. It's just not my kind of deck. You know, obviously there are plenty of Esper control players who will, you know, take this precon, upgrade it, and be busted. I don't know. Also, because I feel like I'm just not going to shell out for a Sensei's Divining Top. This deck wants a Sensei's Divining Top so bad. It's just, you know, it's not how I play. You know, I love to flood the board with permanents. I like to turn creatures sideways. This is all about manipulating the top card of your deck and winning things off it, triggering miracles. So it's not a bad deck. It's just not my style. Lorehold. So, you know, this is the Oscar deck, the Lorehold precon. Oh boy. I must have done this in a hurry because I'm using my very, very old, weathered, damaged, peeling Sarkhan Vol. So when I got these, when these came out, me and some friends got together just for, you know, a college war. We did, you know, a 5-on-5, so I had to find whatever sleeves there were. And yeah, so like these are like, oof, these are peeling. These are probably the most damaged sleeves I have. No, I gotta find the Volrath sleeves. Oh, I think I changed those. But anyway, so, you know, we did just the colleges against each other. For the record, it did come down to Silver Quill and Witherbloom, and Witherbloom eventually won. But anyway, so, well, I'm not even talking about the deck. So this is very much based around artifacts. A lot of people would say that Boros is one of the weakest color pairings because it does the least. It's mostly about combat, maybe going wide with soldier tokens or something like that. But, you know, red and white is not the most versatile color pairing, so a lot of people love the artifact idea for this. I personally thought it was a little too similar to the Mardu Knight Brawl deck that I upgraded. So I played this a couple times, but I'm not really beholden to this deck, so I'm probably going to go through it and see what I can add to my my upgraded Brawl deck, the Sir Gwen, Hero of Ashvale. Ashvale? Hang on. Where are you, Sir Gwen? Hero of Ashvale. Ashvale is for honor. Yeah, I'm one of the only people in the world who plays for honor. By the way, Vikings just won another week of the faction war. One more and we take the season, bitches. Moving on. Oh, man. This is so funny. Because for the longest time, these were in absolutely terrible condition. Silver, like, Ultra Pros from 25 years ago. Some of the first sleeves I ever bought. I'm amazed they're still functional, but you can actually see through them. But it was mostly just to have the cards protected. So when I replaced the sleeves on this deck, so funny enough, again, this is from 2019, the keyword year. This was Morph with a very strong side emphasis on manifest. So, putting stuff face down, flipping it, things of that nature. This is one of those nostalgic things where I love Volrath way more than I love the deck. That's not a reason to have a deck. The real problem is I have some Sultai decks that I'm just not into. And I feel like if I take some of the best stuff from these Sultai decks, I can make a really fun thing to play with. I also recently, because of the Wilhelt deck, those sleeves were originally for my Mimeoplasm deck, the original, one of the original commander decks. Devour for Power, I think it's called. So, that's a fun... Oh yeah, this is the official... what do you call it? The official commander is Kadena Slinking Sorcerer, but I use Volrath. Again, it's a nepotism thing. I love the character of Volrath. I love that story. Oh yeah, I forgot about this guy. So, I'm not sure. I like it because it's such a unique deck, but then I just really don't love playing it myself. It's such a weird thing, It's like, it's so hard for me to explain. These both have those... Where did I get these glossy sleeves? Where did I get these? Oh. That was just like the last one that was the last one. Oh. Actually, my commander has this. Okay. So, this is Ikoria. Kethril the Aspect Warper. So, it's one of the Ikoria commanders. This is the one that he pretty much gets the abilities of anything that goes to the graveyard. I thought it was a great idea. I just don't like the rest of the deck. The rest of the deck didn't wow me. It's just little bits to get this fairly okay. This fairly okay Voltron kind of commander off the ground. So this one's probably going to get the axe, although there are some nice pieces in here I can pilfer for other decks. But it never really knocked my socks off. Here's the Quandrick Stack. Prismari deck. Again, it was played. It was played in for a single day for a hot minute when we were playing all the colleges against each other, and I don't know. The focus on non-permanence and spells. Listen, everybody to their own. I think I said during my Strixhaven opening that set was not for me. That set was not for me. And that, I think the commander decks reflect that. Like, my favorite ended up probably being the Witherbloom deck, but I remember I was so interested in going in on the Lorehold deck, and none of them floored me. So, yeah. This is the Golgari Lathral Blade of the Elves deck. Does that have an actual name? Elven Empire. So, much like my Freyalice deck, or my Freyalice deck did the thing that my Dragon decks did. I had so many Elves that just didn't make the cut, and then this deck came out, and there was just stuff I could replace. There were new Golgari Elves, and I basically just did that, I improved the mana base a little bit. This is a pretty fun deck. I also really like Abomination of Llanowar and Belbay. So another nostalgic character I love. So this one's probably sticking around. It's a fun deck, and it doesn't just create an army of Llanowar elves like Freylice does, and that's a huge thing. It's simple, but it's also unique. Okay. What is this thing? What is this? You monster, you Hellion spawn. What are you? So this is an amalgamation of so many precons. I don't even remember what the point was. This started out as the Brawl deck for started as the Brawl deck of, what's his name? I'm blanking. Corvold, Faker's King. And then I took so much stuff out of that deck. Then, because I'd stolen so much from the original Lord Windgrace deck for other decks, I took a lot of Windgrace's stuff and added it. And I had pieces from the Saskia the Unyielding Commander deck. And I threw that in there. Oh, look, that's from Commander 2014. Like, this is a Jund scrap pile. This is a Jund garbage pile of things from other Commander decks. And because I used Lord Windgrace for my Dragon deck, I just threw Prosh on top. Here, it's yours now. So this is a barely functioning deck at this point. Yeah, look, there's a card from 2017. Like, I'm pretty sure I can find a card, at least one card for every single year of Commander product. There's an original card from the Saskia. There's a Saskia deck card. So, like, what is it? What was it? I don't know anymore. I haven't known for a long time. This is just a bunch of cards that happen to share a color identity. So this is definitely one that's going to get the axe. So those are all the those are all the spots, if you will. Pushing all that out of the way. So what doesn't fit? So what doesn't fit in there? Mostly you're going to see just the precons. So this is the upgraded Brawl deck. I upgraded it into a full 100-card Commander deck. This is the Brawl deck from... man, why can't I remember the name? Throne of Eldraine. It's Sir Gwen, Hero of Ashvale. Soldiers or knights and equipment. I always wanted to make a knight tribal deck, but there just wasn't enough support for it. So this was a very, very, very fun and, refreshing idea. Wasn't just the soldier tokens that we know, it's actual knights. So I got to bring some cool equipment, some cool, cards that I just wasn't thinking about. Oh yeah, this guy, I added him recently. Blackblade Reforged is in there now. My Ember Cleave is somewhere in there. This is just a fun deck. This is definitely sticking around, and it's going to earn a spot in one of those deck boxes. That's kind of the thing. When I say I don't have room, I mean I'm trying to cut my decks down to mostly that section and not this. That thing takes up a lot of space. So as I said, for the Como, the Serpent deck, the Quandrick deck is pretty much been sutured apart. It doesn't exist anymore. It died on the operating table shortly after all these schools went to war. Most of it got put in this deck. A lot more got put in a Hydra deck that I'm currently working on. If that ever sees the light of day. So, I'm so torn. Like, their ideas. Actually, unsleeve this deck. I forgot about that. I'm so torn on whether... Oh, did I throw Utter End in here? Whether or not I want this deck to keep going. I like it, but I don't love it. Fortunately, it's not going to be one of the first ones I judge. Witherbloom, the one that actually won the school off. Witherbloom is, it's class voted most likely to stick around after this. It actually has probably been played more times than all the others. It's gotten a couple of rounds here at home, so I'm considering that one. So let's see our newcomers. I just haven't had a chance to, as you guys know, life went A over TK right when Neon Dynasty came out. So I've barely had time to like really check this deck out and test it for myself. So it's almost exempt. I almost consider its evaluation for like after I'm done doing all this, because it just hasn't had a fair shot. Although I probably will get rid of the vehicles deck because I'm not a fan of vehicles. I'm not a fan of his vehicles. I'm not a fan of Azorius. So, like, speaking of which, boo, the vehicles deck. I like Rakdos vehicles. I really do. I thought Rakdos or Mardu vehicles. I was a huge fan of that deck in the format. I thought it was really, really fun. I'm not sure. I'm gonna take a look at it. I will give it a fair shot. But just when I think vehicles, I think of Rakdos vehicles and how powerful that was in Standard. So, on to this one. This is the Rakdos Blood Token Vampire deck from Crimson Vow. And I don't know. I honestly don't know. There's a lot I like about it, but I can't tell if I could just take choice bits of it. I don't know if I'm all in on the blood tokens. They weren't treasure, so they didn't. Where's our courier band here? I think I used this as a token at one point, and it just ended up in the box. So, yeah. Where's the commander? Is he not sleeved? Oh, he's sleeved. So, Streffen, Mauer Progenitor. I want to play test this. Obviously it hasn't gotten as much time as others, but I can't decide if I really like the blood tokens more than my own vampire decks. If I do, I'll keep this and shred one of them. Edgar Markov specifically. But that's like, I'm so on the fence. That's the whole purpose of this. To make these decisions that I've put off for so long. Commander Legends, what we got? Reap the Tides. So I'm 99% sure. This is... Yep, Essex Fractal Bloom. So, Quandrix died. The Simic Guild Kit died. And so did this. So, this is like this is a 100 card remaining pile of those three aspects. The Commander Legends deck, because I took a lot for the Kolos deck. I took some things for some other decks. So, I don't really think this is gonna... I mean, I'll play test it out a few times. More. Because ever since I sutured it back together, I haven't really tested it. So, it's worth that much. But that's probably going to get the axe. The idea is to take as much of this as possible and reduce it down to just cards that I can just store away and make room, because where I put my decks, I don't have space for all this. I haven't for a while, and it's a stacked mess. So I'm trying to clean all that up. Wyleth, Soul of Steel, the other Commander Legends. So I've taken a few choice bits out of this for various decks, most particularly I've taken some artifacts for Sir Gwen here. I'm going to see if, especially because Lorehold, I'm either going to combine this with Lorehold, or I might even throw them against each other, see which one I actually like more. Or I might just decide both of them are wasting their time. I'm fine with Sir Gwen the Mardu deck, and I'll get rid of them both. But yeah, this didn't... The Commander Legends, which I spent a lot of money on Commander Legends because I was so psyched for that set. So unbelievably disappointing. Oh. So, Omnath suffered... I know it's this guy. Moboon Moldian, so, but I use Omnath. So Omnath lost a lot of good cards in this deck for stuff like my my Lord Windgrace deck, another Gruul deck I'm working on. So I got to see if this is still functional. I got to see if I can find decent replacements and see if this is still a viable deck. Because it's very intact. Unlike, you know, that it's still essentially a functional deck, unlike that, whatever it is. Oh, it's in the big one. The pile of cards from, of Jund, the Prosh deck, which really shouldn't be called a deck. So, this is Gavi Nest Warden. This is another Ikoria. Getting tired. So, you know, as I pilfered some stuff from this deck. I pilfered its Signet. I pilfered its Swords to Plow. Pretty sure I pilfered its Filterland. I used to have that in my Kalia deck. I just haven't decided if I like it enough. I might just I might reconfigure, get rid of the white, and just make it about the Locust God. I do appreciate the partner Shabraz and Brawlin. I did like that. But, you know, whenever you draw a second card each turn, create a red and white dinosaur cat. So, like, cycling is just never... I like Madness, you know, so it's a little too close to the cycling decks, but I'll see if it's worth keeping around. It's probably going to survive as a test deck. This hasn't had much stripped from it. It just didn't... The enchantment deck just didn't wow me. There aren't many auras I'm really excited about. This is the another one of the Planeswalker decks from 2018. Oh yeah, Genesis Storm. Forgot I had that. I've been looking for this thing. I've been looking for what deck had this thing. That's probably getting taken out because I need it for something else. So, I'm actually thinking that I like this one more as a commander. But anyway, so it's pretty, you know, aside from some key removal and stuff here and there, this is a pretty functional deck. Again, it's probably going to be a test dummy, but it just doesn't excite me. You know, the Bant auras, because it's never really been the card to just turn stuff sideways, and if I'm putting auras, I want to put them on something. This poor deck. The Saheeli Rai, the last of the four Planeswalker decks. We looked at Animatu, we looked at Estrid, we saw, you know, Lord Windgrace lives on in my Jund deck, and this is the Artifact deck. This is my favorite of those. I don't even know why it's not sleeved. It should be sleeved. This is just a fun ride. More closer to what I like in a deck. It's, you know, it goes all in on the artifacts, but it's also just about playing Thopters, powering them up as a whole, and just tipping them sideways. That's odds are that's sticking around. Let's see. I did that one. Did that one. Commander Legends. What are you? Oh yeah. Now we come to the Forgotten Realms decks. We're almost done. So, Oh, never mind. So, the Treasure Deck, also known as Prosper Tomebound. So this is a really fun deck, and I feel really bad because normally I'd keep this deck the way it is. I'd keep it, I'd play it, and I'd enjoy it. But with all this Jund treasure stuff coming out, you know, I've the only dragon deck that I want to make that I haven't is a treasure deck. You know, I have Old Gnawbone, I have Goldspan, you know, I have Dockside Extortionist. I have a lot of key cards for a dragon treasure deck, and I'm gonna use a lot of the Riveters deck that's coming out, and I just don't know if I'm gonna need to pilfer from this guy. If I don't, I would love to keep this deck the way it is because it's a fun deck. You guys know me. I'm a dragon obsessive. I'm a Shameless Dragon fanboy. If I have to remove this thing's beating heart for a good dragon deck, you know I'll do it. Speaking of a dragon deck, my last dragon deck, the Gruul Precon. I thought I hated this thing when it came out, but I really like, you know, Enrage. When it's on big enough stuff, Enrage is fun. Again, getting a lot of rejects from my other dragon decks. You know, a lot of green and red dragons that didn't make Karthus after they didn't make Kalia. Goldspan and Gnawbone should actually be in here because I couldn't figure out where to put them. Man, I do not like these forests with all the text and all that. Yeah. Just doesn't add anything. I mean, you can say it does. I mean, you know, I'm not going to argue with you. But it's just personally, where is Old Gnawbone? Oh, there he is. So, you know, Gnawbone, Inferno, Star Mounts, the classics. Is my Dockside Extortionist still in Karthus? Oopsies. So, you know, Rada, Dragonborn Champion, man, I love that one. You know, Cluth, Unrivaled Ancient, Magda. Yeah, there he is. So, like, depending on what cards and what colors, I really might Jundify this deck and turn it into a Dragon Treasure deck. But I have to get a feel for the precon, you know, first. So, and I'll definitely either this is getting turned into a Dragon Treasure deck or the treasure is getting taken out of this deck for the other one. So, you know, for the Jund Dragon deck, treasure deck. So this barely got any playtime. I played with it once out of the box. Once again, it reminds me of both Estrid and Animatau. You know, likes to manipulate the top of the library and cares about, like, you know, auras. So I might actually take Estrid and just smash it together with this because there's a lot of stuff. I love this. I love Ward, and this guy is a real fun card. I love the idea. Come here. You know, I just love the idea of him just making 7/7s, you know, from like 1/1s or weakening. You know, in a way, this guy is a walking Mightstone, Meekstone. Mightstone, Weakstone, not the Meekstone. Rancor. Oh, now there's an aura worth casting. So, and that's the thing, you know, you forget stuff like this is in that deck. So, like, this really makes me think I want to, like, take whatever's in the Estrid deck, pull it out, and then, you know, recouple with this deck. That's the thing. When commander decks are too similar to each other, you know, okay, Captain Nepotism says, you know, whenever they're too similar to each other, I'm bored. It's like, you know, you can put out 20 dragon decks and I'll just rank them in order of awesomeness. You know, you put out 2 aura decks and I'm throwing a fit. You know, 2 spirit decks. I'll probably do a version. So obviously you can see this never got played. I just never actually got around to playing with this one. So it looks interesting. You know, I've read the summary. I just never cracked into this one. So this one, kind of like the new Kamigawa ones, I don't feel it got a fair shot. Just about done, almost there. Millicent, there she is. Speaking of the War of Spirits, so again, from all accounts that I've heard, you know I didn't have any more sleeves left when I used these acid green sleeves. So for those of you guys who don't know, I play a lot of board games. I actually have Nemesis. I have Nemesis by Awakened Realms set up in the dining room right next door. I'll show you guys what that looks like all set up. You guys might know I got Heroes of Might and Magic for Christmas. But I play a game called Legendary Encounters Alien, and that is a card game with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cards. I think it has over 1,000 cards in its expansion right now. So I basically on Amazon, like in bulk, bought the Dragon Shield Apple sleeves to sleeve up that. So I have like a couple hundred to spare. So I know if I used these sleeves for Magic, I was short for sleeves. Like when I wanted to sleeve up my Witherbloom deck. So, because I would never put green sleeves on a blue and white. So, like I said, a lot of people just say this isn't as fun as the Foretell Spirit deck. You know, it just lets you play spirits, but it also does other cool things. So, I am going to do a video. Now I'm going to do another one. I'm going to open up that, the Forgotten Realms Equip Aura deck, and I'm going to compare it to Estrid. And I'm probably going to suture them both together. So, and I'm probably going to do the same with this and Ranar, although I'll probably keep Ranar. I really like... That deck's just fun. Sometimes the rule of fun just wins. I know there's something... Oh. So, obviously, to make Cirque win, I pilfered a lot of decks. Here's the Jirai Kodo Commander Legends deck, or Ikoria deck, the Mardu deck, the Warriors deck. Just wasn't into it. It's what I think is going to happen to the Commander Legends Boros Commander. Alright, well, at least we're down to the final 5. As I told you, I needed sleeves for Wilhelt, so I took them off this deck. It's one of the originals. It is the Mymioplasm, also known as Devour for Power. I like this deck. It's a fun deck. I love the very Volrath, the Fallen-based ability. Discard, become. So I'm probably just going to find sleeves, sleeve up this deck again and use it because it's fun. Another precon. This one is a precon that I always meant to upgrade, but I never did. So she's pretty much out of the box same because I didn't want to make her weaker. This is Marin of Clantelnoth. According to most people, the second most popular precon of them all. Seconded only by Atraxa. So, I really do like the idea of the graveyard theme in this deck. So I really do want to crack into it and improve it. So, maybe Witherbloom can help with that. I don't know. So, again, this is a deck that, like, it's almost a piece of Magic. It's almost a piece of EDH history at this point. It's one of the originals. And again, it's considered, from what I understand, the most popular deck outside of Atraxa. So, all right. This is not the Wade into Battle precon. This is an upgraded Saskia the Unyielding precon. So Saskia the Unyielding is the only of the 4 colors I bought when it came out. I think she's awesome. And she's got bits of the Windgrace deck. She's got bits of other warrior decks. I haven't perfected it yet, but it's just a fun, annoying deck. So it's just a little bit more stompy. Originally, my Rakdos deck was based mostly off Xantia and stuff like Varchild. The ability to not be attacked and make everybody attack each other. As Rakdos became more about dealing damage, focusing on his commander and casting big stuff, a lot of those annoying cards that want people to attack ended up in this deck because I had Thrantis in there. So this is actually technically more of a Thrantis precon, as led by featuring Saskia, so I can use her white for good removal, because Thrantis is a Jund commander. He's actually the backup commander to the Windgrace precon. Heavenly Inferno. So I kept this as just a test, you know, a practice dummy for my Kaalia deck. If I can beat the Kaalia precon, I'm good. Well, then I took Kaalia out because I wanted her in another deck. Oops. I've put stuff into this deck, but I just, without Kaalia, Tariel is just not, it doesn't flow the same. So this is definitely getting shredded. You know, I need the cards, I need the space. I'm not getting another Kaalia just for this practice deck. If anything, I'll proxy it. But just, you know, this one's time is probably at an end. And then finally, the only one that never got sleeved up, the Evasive Maneuvers, the Bant deck from Commander 2013. So this was also with Prosh the Sky Raider or Javella, Nephalia's Scourge. And it was just a boring Bant deck that I never really looked at. I opened it up. I'm pretty sure I took some stuff out of it. So you can pretty much tell, you know, my leanings that Bant has just never been my color, you know. But so I'm actually going to sleeve it up and give it a fair shot. So I'm pretty sure those are all my decks. Oh, no. What is this? There it is. The actual Wade into Battle Commander precon, minus its commander who's in Saskia. That's why, you know. So, like I said, this is the Wade into Battle precon. It's from the 2015 two-color commander decks like Daxos and Marin. Yeah, it came in the anthology. It didn't rock my socks like other aggressive decks. So I mostly used it for parts, but it's mostly still intact. So I'm going to sleeve it up at some point, play a few games with other Boros decks, see which one I like the most. Finally, I'm surprised I have so many Boros decks that I have that I kind of want to get rid of. Then again, it doesn't surprise me because I put so much of my best stuff from Jund, or from Boros, into my Kaalia deck. It's like, I went so all in on my Kaalia deck that I've stripped so many cards from so many decks. It's like, I'm not gonna replace them. Callous as that sounds. So, I need to try and take as many decks out of there. Yeah. You know, so I try and minimize this as much as possible, and then, you know, fit it into all of that without getting another deck box, which would just be feeding my addiction. So, this was just a video to show you the madness that is my deck collection. Not really going into it. This was not a deck tech of any sorts. Wasn't meant to really overview each deck, but it's just, you know, what I'm working with, what decks I want to get rid of, what decks I definitely want to keep, what decks I'm on the fence about. As much as this is a video for YouTube, it's also a personal log. It's Captain's log. I have one hell of a task in front of me. So thank you for listening to me ramble. Again, I'm probably going to do video updates on the states of various decks. I'm probably going to, you know, do evaluations on camera and make decisions. You guys can chime in the comments about what you guys want to do. Oh yeah, I forgot. I said I had Nemesis all set up for a game. This game by Awaken Realms is insane. If anybody played Betrayal on House on the Hill, it's like that but on steroids. So you're pretty much you play various members of a crew that wake from hypersleep. One of your number is dead. There's things in the vents, and you basically explore these rooms. and you find out what condition they're in. So I turn this over. Should be doing this. Oh, it's the emergency room. What state is it in? Oh, it's got an item in it. But it's also silent. All right. So no noise roll. So you basically roll for noise whenever you move, and if you roll badly enough, you summon aliens, which are some gorgeous minis that I haven't taken out of the box yet because, I've been moving around. But so, yeah, obviously I have board game obsessions. Oh, my Renfair weapons. So thank you guys for joining me. Oh, I just got the sequel, right before. I bought the sequel right before my financial situation came to hell. So when it arrived in the mail, I felt so guilty. So, again, that's my elaborate camo rig, people. There it is. That's why it keeps falling over. So, thank you guys for joining me. This has been a weird night. Just me going through all this in my head. So, thanks for listening to me ramble. Thanks for hanging out. Let me know in the comments if there's decks that you guys like, decks that you guys think I should shred, decks I should keep, decks that you guys think I have wrong, because you all can get these precons too. I don't know which one, who owns what. But if there's a precon that you really like, tell me. I want to know. So thank you guys for joining me. So tune in next week as I start this process. Oh yeah, those are 60 card decks right there that I got to move to. Bye guys.